Well, in theory, there's a office in the White House called OIRA, with Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs,
Right.
and they're supposed to be a watchdog of sorts. Yet, I think they have, what, 20 people, and
It's
they're, and they're
tough.
2
And
million people
It's
in
tough.
the
Yeah,
agencies.
if Congress needs to take back this legislative power, and it does, I'm happy with them having larger staffs if it means we can reduce some of the agencies.
Right.
OIRA was set up back during the Paperwork Reduction Act, and President Reagan strengthened it with his Executive Order 12291. Bottom line, cost-benefit analysis for rules. And fortunately, although it's changed a little bit, that same executive order is still in effect today. There have been modifications to it from Clinton and others. So OIRA, which stands for Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, as you say, within the Office of Management and Budget, just like we review spending, OIRA is supposed to review regulations to make sure that they're effective, that they make sense. But here's the problem, Bill. Remember, there are 3,000 regulations, but OIRA looks at just the so-called significant, and the agencies get to decide what's significant, right?
Sure, yeah.
So they look at...
They do get to decide?
The agencies decide that, not you or me or not Congress.
Okay.
So they leave out things that we would consider significant. So they whittle it down that way. Then they review the costs.
You're depressing me.
Don't get depressed, because when we get to the end and we talk about...
Okay.
But they review the cost of about 60.
Yeah.
Then for cost-benefit analysis, both, you know how many there were the year before last? I didn't do my tally for 2018. 14. 3,000 regulations, cost-benefit analysis for 14. So if you ever needed an example...
You're not doing any better in terms of improving my mood.
If you needed an example of how out of control it is,
Yeah.
when I said one nation ungovernable, I mean that. It's not workable. Just so you don't get too depressed, part of the solution is walling off the future, and we can get to that, because I always say, it's probably become, I say it too much, but most of the world's wealth is not yet created. Most of the world's jobs are not yet created.
Sure.
And we do not have to regulate new sectors in the future in the way we're doing now. And that involves a lot of things that has to be done by Congress. My general counsel jokes, he says, yeah, Wayne, but most of the world's regulations aren't written yet either.
Well, they're right behind you. Right. I often say we've got 21st century technology being chased by 19th century regulation.
Right, exactly.
And that's the same.
Right,
that's what you're talking about.
That's the origin.
They can only regulate what exists.
Right.
And there's a school of thought that a lot of this doesn't matter that much, because companies are innovating faster than the regulators can regulate, and so a lot of good things are happening outside the regulatory framework.
There's a problem with that, right? What happens is, who was it was Peter Thiel or someone who said, we were supposed to be going to Mars now. Instead, we're typing 128 characters.
Yeah, so I think he said that.
With the point being, anything that involved the world of atoms, the real world, is heavily regulated: construction, hospitality, energy. But things that were made of bits, like creating a software program, remain relatively unregulated. Right. So the tech sector and creating new apps and all of those things could boom. But it was those other sectors that were cut out. I'm just worried about the tech sector in the sense that, given the proclivities of the Federal Trade Commission or the FCC, those industries can be so-called born captive. I've heard Adam Thier use that term, and I think that is one of the problems. Is our driverless cars going to be born free, or they're going to be born captive? Is that going to be the case with drones? What about artificial intelligence, born free or born captive?